16th, 2021. Well, hey, we finally and actually had a full weekend of some NFL football, and boy, does it feel great to finally sit down for a whole day, drink some beer, talk with the boys, and watch some football. Now, there were some pretty solid games this weekend, but I'd say all eyes were really on all those rookie quarterbacks who everyone was just waiting to see, or who is waiting to see, might be just possibly the next superstar of the league. And we'll get to that in a bit, but for now, let's get down to just a downright terrible performance by the Minnesota Vikings. So, are you ready to get your fix? Well, like I said, terrible performance by the Minnesota Vikings. They took a big, fat L, 33-6, and just what was really a non-existent performance by the Minnesota Vikings. Didn't look like they were there at all. Okay, apparently, they were actually also, the Denver Broncos were kicking our ass during practice the whole week, because a lot of teams before the preseason week one, they'll get together, have a little scrimmage, a couple practices, kind of see what they got to compare to other teams around the league. And so, obviously with Broncos, us playing them week one of the preseason, we had a practice against them. Didn't do so hot, apparently. Okay, a lot of things were going wrong. Granted, we had that quarterback situation with, all of them out with COVID except for one. But, hey, they went out there. They got that first game out of the way. Hopefully it was just jitters, okay? So after taking, obviously, a 3-point lead, the Denver Broncos, they come out. And I missed the first half of this game because I was working or whatever. But Broncos go up 3-0 right away. Okay, I'm like, all right, we got something to work with. We'll see what happens. Hopefully our first team offense will get a snap or two and see what they got cooking. Well, right after that, we go and don't put any points on the board. At least or it was like 3 points on the board. I can't really remember. Wasn't here for it. But Drew fucking Lock finds KJ Hamler for an 80-yard touchdown. It was an absolute, I guess it was a pretty good play. But Drew Lock did really good in his debut. He finished 5 for 7, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did pretty solid. Okay, that's what you want a starting quarterback to do in the NFL. Granted, the majority of the 151 yards came from that 80-yard touchdown bomb. Still, overall, great performance. Now, Teddy Bridgewater actually didn't do too bad. But I think Drew Lock, so far right now, has that first-string quarterback slot on the depth chart really set in stone at this point in time. Obviously, there's 2 more preseason games, so we'll get to see kind of where that kind of transpires or transitions to. Now, Kellen Mond, okay, he didn't do great, but I actually thought he looked pretty solid. Okay, he went 6 for 16, 53 yards. He also ran the ball 5 times for a total of 25 yards. Okay, did pretty solid. I thought this guy was very mobile, quick on his feet. Okay, he made adjustments on the fly. I did like, the one thing I liked about him was those quick little dunks that he was able to, get throughout the game. Wide receiver wise, we have some depth there, but you can tell that after, obviously Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, and D.D. Westbrook, our wide receiver depth is kind of thin. Okay, they're not that good. A lot of them aren't NFL ready, and that's worrisome, especially if, say, one of those guys I just listed, get injured throughout the season. That's going to be difficult to overcome. Yeah, granted, we have Chad Beebe, Olabisi Johnson won't be here this season. He had that injury, but other than Kellen Mond, kind of having a decent game. One guy that I also thought did pretty solid was our rookie running back A.J. Rose Jr. He did a great job. Okay, 25 rushes, 100 yards, went out there and really showed what he's capable of. Okay, he showed that he's capable of possibly, becoming that third back in the depth chart for the Minnesota Vikings. So obviously Amir Abdullah's here, but I think we're going to use Abdullah mainly in the kick return and punt return area, and go from there, because Dalvin Cook's going to be starter. Alexander Madison's going to be the second guy. So we got people in the right places. But A.J. Rose Jr. did really well. 100 yards rushing on the ground with 25 attempts. That's a lot of attempts, especially for a guy that, probably the main reason you got to see as many reps as you did is probably because training camp he hasn't had that many carries. So they're like, well, let's put him in a game. Let's get him as many carries as we can. Evaluate him then. Okay, because I believe tomorrow at like 4 p.m. or tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central Time, rosters have to be cut down, I think, from 90 to 85. Okay, and I think until at the 24th, I think it has to be down to 85. And I think the 28th has to be down to the final, or 75. And then I think there's one more final cut before the regular season to get down to 53. But, hey, the Vikings, although they didn't have the greatest game of week 1, there's a good takeaway. Okay, we have a lot of good young players that are eager to get in there, eager to continue to make plays. Okay, Janarius Robinson did pretty solid. I thought Patrick Jones, the second, went in there and made a few plays. Now, Wyatt Davis, he's going to have to step up in a big way, and I think he's capable of doing so because our other guard, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, is just not cutting it at this point in time. So hopefully he can figure his stuff out. Kellerman did great. We talked about that. And then, this running back, A.J. Rose Jr. So we have some key pieces. Hopefully we get to see more of these guys going into week 2, week 3, and see what they're actually capable of. And hopefully we get that 53-man roster, at least a good 53-man roster. So now, after talking about the Minnesota Vikings, let's go and talk about these rookie quarterbacks and their performances. Okay, there's a lot of them that we want to see. Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, all these people. Okay, we talked about Kellen Mond. Didn't do great. There's room for improvement. Obviously, Kirk Cousins is still going to be that quarterback or that starter, so we won't talk about him. But we'll get started with Justin Fields. Now, I wasn't able to watch this game. It was a noon game, so, and I was working. But from what I got to see, and I went back and watched every single snap that he took, and hey, the Bears came away with a dub, okay, 20-13, and it's actually a really, really good win because they were down 13-0 to start the game, okay. But Justin Fields, awesome, did a phenomenal job, okay, 14 for 20, 142 yards passing and a touchdown. Also had 5 rushes for 33 yards and a touchdown, okay. He also had 2 fumbles. Now, one thing or a couple takeaways. He's very, very mobile, okay. He takes a lot of chances. But I really like this guy. He has a really good chance at starting for the Chicago Bears this season, and especially with the performance that he put on, granted against a bunch of second string, third string guys. He went out there and performed at a very, very high level. Okay, he went out there. I believe that touchdown run that he had was where he ran out to the outside until like the left side or whatever, and then smashed right to that corner safety and scored a touchdown. But he's showing a lot of upside so far, and that's good to see because historically Ohio State quarterbacks have just really been kind of a bummer when they transition to the NFL. I mean, we've seen Dwayne Haskins, who is the most recent one, I believe, to come out of Ohio State and try to play in the NFL. Granted, yeah, Joe Burrow, he played there, but he didn't actually start any games. He was redshirted, went to LSU, and then that's where his career kind of flourished. But Justin Fields, very solid game from what I could see and from what he has shown me. So let's go over to Trevor Lawrence with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They did lose 23-13 to the Browns, but that doesn't matter, okay? It's preseason. Now, he was 6 for 9 with 71 passing yards, and he was sacked twice, okay? Now, another thing to take away from this game is that he seems to have found his favorite wide receiver, and that is Marvin Jones, okay? He came over from the Detroit Lions from last year, but he went to him, I think, 3 or 4 of the 9 passes that I've seen, which is a good amount, okay? Especially, with DJ Chark, he's questionable at this moment. He'd probably be ready for the first couple weeks in the regular season. So it'll be interesting to see how he kind of separates the ball or spreads the wealth, if you will, to Marvin Jones and DJ Chark. But right now, Marvin Jones is his target to go to, okay? Now, he did connect on a deep ball at the end of the first quarter, which I thought was actually a very good pass from him to Marvin Jones. So that was really nice to see. The one thing, though, and the main reason why Trevor really didn't do so hot and could have done better, obviously, probably going to be the starter for the Jacksonville Jaguars, so you're not going to see much of him. But another thing, that offensive line is downright awful, absolutely garbage. Okay, he had to literally make everything happen himself, if you kind of get what I'm saying. I mean, every time that Browns front 4 on that defensive line are pretty solid. And granted, They were backups, but they are still pretty good, and they should be having to go against Clowney, Myles Garrett, and others alike on that Browns team. But they need to pick up that offensive line play and kind of move forward. It is week 1 of the preseason. There are a lot of room to grow, a lot of reps to see, and we'll kind of transition or not transition. We'll kind of wait to see what Trevor Lawrence has in store for us in week 2. We'll probably get a little bit more playing time, and then week 3 in the preseason he'll get. It depends if he's going to be the starter or not. Minshew might get the majority of that, but we'll see kind of where that goes. But he did finish, like I said, 6 for 9, 71 passing yards, no touchdowns, but he did all right. Okay. Another rookie quarterback. New York Jets quarterback Zach Wilson got the dub. It's 12-7 over the Giants. Now, he did all right. Okay. He seemed to be, he looked really, really calm being in New York, and with New York being such a huge media and, I guess, empire over there, and, you're pretty much your face is everywhere, especially being the number 1 draft pick. You should have a lot of pressure on you. Well, he didn't look like that at all. Okay, he looked very, very calm. He looks good on his feet, very shifty. Okay, and his awareness is good. Other than that, he didn't get too much playing time, kind of like Trevor Lawrence. I mean, he went 6 for 9, 63 yards passing. So, but as of right now, I think we kind of seen a decent amount from Zach Wilson, and hopefully he's able to, at least get 1 or 2 wins for the New York Jets. It's going to be tough. Very tough, because that is a bad team. But I think they will be better than the Houston Texans this year, especially if Deshaun Watson doesn't want to play. But we got to see a good Davis Mills come out from Stanford, go for I think it was 11 for 22 or 11 for 21, something like passing with over 100 yards, a touchdown, something like that. Did really well against the Green Bay Packers. But after Zach Wilson, we're going to talk about Trey Lance. Okay, they did lose to the Chiefs 19-16. He went 5 for 14, 128 yards passing, 1 touchdown, and he was sacked 4 times. Okay, now, that 1 touchdown was a bomb. An absolute fucking beautiful, just rainbow overthrow. Guys wide open, Trent Sherfield down 80 yards, touchdown. Beautiful play. Okay, that was his 2nd pass of his NFL career. And I seen a stat, I think about an hour ago or an hour and a half ago, that Jimmy Garoppolo's longest pass of his career was 76 yards, and Trey Lance hit an 80-yard pass on his 2nd throw. So you can do with that piece of information what you will, but Trey Lance, okay, he was sacked 4 times during the game. That Chiefs line, okay, that front 4 on that defensive line is incredible, okay. Chris Jones got to him, I think, once or twice. I mean, they were just ridiculous. That's a really good defense, and I think we can expect good things from the Chiefs defense going forward throughout the entire year. Okay, this is going to be a top 3, top 5 defense, so be on the lookout. Now, back to Trey Lance. He has decent mobility. He has a decent ball, or a good ball. He knows where to put it, how to put it, when to put it, kind of stuff like that. The only thing that people might be skeptical about is he doesn't throw the tightest spiral, and that goes back to, Peyton Manning is a good example. He used to never really throw the tightest spiral. Okay, a lot of people wanted him to change his form, but it didn't happen. Okay, we'll see kind of how it transpires with Trey Lance. I think for right now, he has a decent enough ball where he shouldn't have to change anything. Okay, throw it how you want, throw it how you learn, or what is best for you, and you're going to succeed with that, hopefully. Okay, but other than decent mobility, he has a good ball. He puts almost a little too much on the ball, and I believe that is a big factor in why he doesn't throw spirals. Okay, there's a couple times when I was watching a couple highlights and videos of him that he would just wham, just try to chuck the ball and fit it into places that he probably couldn't and didn't have to risk at all. But he did. And I think, obviously you got nervous, you got jitters coming in that first game of your NFL or first NFL career game, and things are going to happen. You're going to do things stupid, and I believe he's going to see that and kind of reflect on it a little bit and hopefully change it up come week 2, and we'll see a little bit more playing time from him. But that was one thing that I kind of noticed, is that he just tried to put too much on the ball when he really didn't need to, and he can fix that up, and I believe he will. All right, the last rookie quarterback we'll talk about, that I'm actually going to talk a little bit with his counter partner over there in the Indianapolis Colts organization, Sam Ehlinger and Jacob Eason. Okay, they got the dub 21-18 over the Panthers Sunday at noon, which was a pretty decent game. Okay, Now, Jacob, he did pretty solid. Okay, he started the game. He went 15 for 21, 183 yards, and was sacked 3 times. Where Sam actually went 10 for 15, 155 yards, and had an interception. Okay, he also ran 8 times for 30 yards. Okay, now, if I'm the Colts, you don't need to make a quarterback move at all. Okay, you are in very, very good hands from what I've seen. At least got to see yesterday afternoon. Because both of these guys, 10 completions, 15 completions, over 150 yards, both of them. No touchdowns. That could be cleaned up a little bit, but that's a gimme, okay? Sam Ehlinger has a very, very, very nice ball. I mean, there was times where it was literally, the ball was right here, and the receivers just wouldn't come down with the catch. They'd probably score. But every time, the ball just seemed to be perfectly placed. And if you get a superstar wide receiver like T.Y. Hilton back in the mix, Sam Ehlinger is going to be a problem. A very, very big problem. Now, it was week 1. He maybe just got lucky. But I don't think he did. I think this is truly how he plays, and I think he's going to bring himself forward. And week 2, week 3, we could see Sam Ehlinger really push for that starting job, and he might very well get it. Okay? He makes very, very smart choices and decisions. His awareness is next level. A big shocker. I think this was a guy that nobody was, obviously at the start of offseason or at the end of the draft or whatever, nobody was really kind of looking at Sam Ehlinger, including myself, being like, hey, this guy could bring something, because we all knew Carson Wentz was already the quarterback in Indianapolis. But after this week 1, I think everybody needs to take a closer look at Sam Ehlinger, because he's going to bring something very special to that Colts organization. And if Carson Wentz just isn't the guy, you could very well bring him up. And if Carson, from what it sounds like anyways, he might start or is on pace to start for week 1, and it's looking really good. But if he doesn't, as of right now, I think my choice at quarterback would be Sam, just because he is, a little younger. He's won, obviously the draft class after Jacob Eason in the NFL, but I think he is just going to mold better with that offense and how they kind of do things over there, okay? So enough on those rookie quarterbacks and their performances. Let's get to some other notable performances around the league. Now we're going to start with Jason. I mixed Jameis Winston with Taysom Hill, but Jameis Winston versus Taysom Hill, okay? Still don't really know who that quarterback is going to be in the room. Jameis, he went 7 for 12, 96 yards, had a touchdown and an interception. Taysom Hill, 8 for 12, 81 yards, and an interception. Very, very similar stats. Each had 12 reps or 12 attempts. Only completed about 7 or 8, like I said, passes. They each had over, 10 yards of completion. But Jameis had that touchdown. That gives them that little bit more of an edge. They both had an interception, okay? They didn't do great. I didn't watch this game. I think I was watching at the time. I can't really remember off the top of my head what it was. It was right after the Vikings game. But I decided to watch a different one just to kind of see the rookie quarterbacks and how they were kind of working out. I believe it might have been the San Francisco game. But Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, this is going to be a very interesting quarterback battle to kind of continue to watch going forward to see who's going to come out on top. Is it going to be Taysom Hill, with that all-voidable year contract? Or is it going to be Jameis Winston, the guy who got LASIK surgery, was throwing blind in the NFL, had the most interceptions, most passing yards in 1 year? It's going to be interesting to see how this battle kind of works out, and really it all relies on, I guess, Michael Thomas and how that relationship's going to be fixed, but we'll kind of go from there, okay? Now we're going to go to the Las Vegas Raiders. Nathan Peterman took literally every fucking snap, I'm pretty sure, of that game, okay? 29 of 39 passing, 247 yards, and an interception. No touchdowns, so that's not good really to see. But Derek Carr is going to be that guy, that starter going forward. So you're just kind of getting a look at your next best, your backup, seeing what he's going to bring to the table. And he can't get in the end zone. You had a bunch of rookies. A lot of people probably didn't know the playbook and whatnot, but still a very, very good performance. You had a touchdown or 2 in there, and that's a starting caliber performance. 29 completions, 247 yards passing. You add 2 touchdowns, that'd be awesome. Also, Jordan Love, quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, looked pretty solid, I'd say. Now, he was taken out because of an injury. Looks like that injury to the shoulder, I believe, isn't going to be worrisome, but he did very, very well. Okay, he's 12 for 17, 122 yards passing, and a touchdown. Looked solid. Looked like that Jordan Love from his sophomore season when he was with or in Utah during college. So he looked pretty solid. I like to see that, especially with that whole Rodgers shenanigans happened during the offseason, kind of wondering where he's going to go. Is he going to stay in Green Bay and stuff like this? And so it's really nice to see that Green Bay has a solid enough backup. Hopefully he can go out there and do the right things. Now, the last guy I want to talk about played in the XFL, absolutely balled out for the Houston Roughnecks, quarterback P.J. Walker for the Carolina Panthers. He can fucking ball, folks. This is a very, very solid quarterback. Okay, I wouldn't say really, really good, and I was about to, but he's very solid. Okay, 10 for 21 passing, 161 yards, and a touchdown. Okay, the guy can scramble. He looked very fluent with that offense. Looked like he could get outside the pocket at a moment's notice, make decent plays, throw the ball away. He did very, very well. I think he's a good guy, or a guy to kind of keep your eye on, especially if Sam Darnold, ends up sucking or ends up blowing it. Okay, I think P.J. Walker could be that next guy up, that very, very, or a big sleeper, a big underdog that could come out of nowhere and be a starter if need be. But I think he has a little bit of or room for improvement, so we'll see kind of where he transitions. Well, that is all I got for you guys today. I kind of wanted to recap the weekend a little bit, going over those rookies and stuff like that. But we're going to be back here tomorrow again at 6 p.m. like always. We'll probably bring in the receivers, talk about those rookie receiver performances. Devontae Smith didn't play, but we got a couple others that we can talk about, and then we're gonna dive into that flagrant or that taunting rule that the NFL has implemented. Didn't really work out this weekend, especially yesterday. There was a very, very big one that I was like, what the hell? But there's a couple things that we got coming for you, but just tune in tomorrow and continue to tune in. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow. And you just got your fix with the Wicks. Have a great one.